Hello everyone. On this video, we're going to go to the next section of the entrance exam, which is determining how to write key signatures. Now, you might already know that a key signature happens at the very beginning of a piece, right after the clef. And the key signature for instrumentalists will tell you which pitches should exist as sharps or flats all throughout that piece. So if you're playing an instrument, this is telling you that every time you see an F, a C, a G, or a D, that it should be an F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, or D sharp. And if you're playing piano, that means every time you see a D, even if it's down here, or an F, or a G, or a C, anywhere on here that you shouldn't play a C natural, you should play a C sharp. For many of us, that's where our understanding of key signatures end. Is just that it tells you where to play black notes instead of white notes, or on a string or wind instrument, where to play, put different fingers down, put them on higher or lower portions of your instrument, what notes to play instead of the naturals. The reason that a key signature is called a key signature is that it functions as the signature of that key. That is like the identifying marker for that key. So just like your signature is kind of like what you put on legal documents to identify that it really was you saying this, a key signature is the identifying mark for a given key. If I'm in the key of E, its signature is 4 sharps. If I'm in the key of G, that signature is 1 sharp. If I'm in the key of G flat, its key signature is 6 sharps. I'm sorry, 6 flats. And so it's kind of a way of looking at a given piece and saying, you're in this key, okay? And an important part of this exam, part 3 of the exam, we'll get back to part 2 in a moment. Part 3 of the exam is being able to be said G major, sorry about that, let's do it right here. G major, bass clef, they'll give you that information. You have to write in the key signature. E flat major, treble clef, you have to write in the key signature. All right. And so today we're going to talk about how to find major key signatures for all the keys. In order to do that, the first thing you have to do is memorize what we call the order of sharps. And folks, you're just going to have to commit this to memory. By order of sharps, we mean the order that sharps appear in a key signature. You always see them in the same order. Sorry. Goodness gracious, that D's not turning out very well. There we go. You only have 7 sharps in a key signature, and this is the order that they show in. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. You have to memorize that order. The order of sharps is F, C, G. Let's not do it that way. Let's do it this way. Just like we learned every good boy does fine as a sentence that kind of mnemonically helps us remember the order of things, there is a sentence that goes with the order of sharps. That sentence is very non-school appropriate. 4 crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. I don't know why, but that's what I was taught, and let's go there. If I wanted to be more school appropriate, it would be dizzy, I guess. So let me write that so I don't get fired. 4 crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. I know I should have said dizzy. 4 crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. Say it with me, quietly, so your parents don't hear. 4 crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. 4 crows got dizzy at Easter barbecue. 4 crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. 4 crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. When I was taking piano lessons as a child, the lady from whom I was taking piano lessons had a wood carving on the side of her piano that had 4, crows with little wings over here. Yay! And they were dressed in like pink. And one of them was like, grilling, some food over here. And then one of them had like a jug that had like little X's on it. So it looked like they were drinking alcohol. So there's your four crows. They were dressed in pink, so you knew it was Easter. Got drunk at Easter barbecue. Just deal with it, okay? Four crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. Four crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. Memorize it and put it out there. That is the order that sharps appear in a key signature. All right. If you need to know the order of sharps, you have to have that memorized. You should also know the order of flats. The order of flats is bead, G, C, F. Have you noticed that this is the order of sharps backwards? Four crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. Bead, GCF. Bead, GCF. That is your order of flats. Order of sharps, four crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. Order of flats, bead, GCF. All right, let's take a look at what this means for us in the real term here. First, let's write it up here, okay? You must have this memorized. The sharps again are, say it with me, four crows got drunk at Easter barbecue. Flats is B, E, A, D, G, C, F. You're not allowed to bring in any notes for this test. You can write it in the margins, but this is something you're definitely going to have in your brain, okay? If you have this memorized, this step is similarly important to everything else you're going to have to do on the entrance, well, most of everything else you're going to have to do on the entrance exam, okay? Trust me on that, all right? Here is a rule for what we're going to call the sharp rule. The sharp rule is that you take a letter, you subtract one alphabet, and that equals your last sharp. Let me say it again, and then I'll explain it. You take your letter, I shouldn't have put a D there, hold on. I'll take your letter, you subtract one in the alphabet, and that is your last sharp. Take your letter, subtract one in the alphabet, and that is your last sharp. For D major, I'm going to take the one letter away in the alphabet. I'm going to go backwards, minus one in the alphabet. Backwards one from D is C. A, B, C, D. C is my last sharp. That means it's the last sharp in the key signature. Key of D has two sharps. Let me do that again. If I'm asking you what is the key signature for D major, you go back one in the alphabet, that's your last sharp. Go back one from D is C. C is my last sharp. Therefore, D has F sharp and C sharp. If I were to ask for B, go back one in the alphabet, it would be A. Therefore, B has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharps. There it is. Okay. If I were to ask you for A, do that one on your own. Please pause the video now. Be ready to tell me how many sharps there are in the key of A major. Pause the video. Assuming you are now unpaused, you would go down one letter from A in the alphabet, which is G. G would be your last sharp. A has then 3 sharps, and they would be F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Okay? I think you start seeing here how all of this should work then. Okay? The order of sharps always looks like this. Notice that everything is up, down, except for the A. You have 3 down in a row and then up, down. Okay? That's important to realize because even if you knew that D has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp, but you were to write F sharp and C sharp, that would be counted wrong. Because in music, the first sharp in the treble clef, that F sharp, is always on the top. Okay? Memorize this. So you know the order is Four Crows Got Drunk at Easter Barbecue, but memorize also where those sharps are placed in a key signature. A bass clef is a little bit easier to remember because it's always up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. Oh, and then down here at the end. Sorry about that. All right. There are your Four Crows Got Drunk at Easter Barbecue. Okay. And it's always up, down, up, down, up, down. And then the third one, here's at the very end. Okay. In alto clef, I'll be honest with you, I don't exactly know where they all go because very rarely do I exist in there. I believe the G is down here, but it could be up here. But I can tell you that on the exam, you'll only have to write in key signatures on the treble clef and the bass clef. Okay? The sharp rule is take a letter, subtract 1 in the alphabet, and that ends up being your last sharp in the key signature. From there, you can figure it out. Okay? The flat rule, take your letter plus 1 in the order of flats, and that equals your last flat. Take your letter plus 1 in the order of flats, and that equals your last flat. So if I ask you for E flat major, here's what I mean by plus 1 in the order of flats. There's your E, plus 1 in the order of flats. Not in the order alphabet like E, F, in the order of flats. And that is your last flat in the key signature. So in the key of E flat, you have B flat, E flat, and A flat. B flat, E flat, A flat. If I were to ask you for D flat major, then here you would go to D, plus 1 in the order of flats. That is your last flat. The key of D flat major has B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat. That's 5 flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat. Key of C flat major. Go plus 1 in the order of flats. There's your C. Plus 1 would be over there. That's your last flat. That means all 7 are flat. This gives us a good opportunity for looking at the order of flats on a staff. I think you'll see it's a little bit easier with the flats because it's always down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Sharp rule, letter minus 1 in the alphabet is your last sharp. The flat rule, letter plus 1 in the order of flats equals your last flat rule. There's one more rule for finding key signatures, and we're just going to call it the memorize rule. And the memorize rule has to do with 2 keys. Memorize. Hold on. Sorry. Memorize. C major equals no sharps, no flats. F major equals 1 flat. You have to memorize those 2 because they don't follow these same rules of this stuff up here. Okay? When do you know when to use the sharp rule and when to use the flat rule? Any note that is natural or sharp, you use the sharp rule. Any note that is flat, you use the flat rule. Here's what I mean by that. If I were to ask you for B major, that's B natural. So I'm going to go down one. There's my last sharp. If I were to ask you for B flat, that's B flat. I'm going to use the flat rule. If I were to ask you for F sharp, it's a sharp. I'm going to use the sharp rule. I'm going to go down one as E. There's my last sharp. If I'm going to ask you for F natural, that's the memorization rule. C sharp would be sharp rule. Go to B, down one of the alphabet to B, there's your last flat. If I were to ask last sharp, if I were to ask you for C flat, it is the flat rule. And so you would go one more over in the order of flats, all would be flat. If I were to ask you for C natural, it's the memorize rule. Okay? Memorize is for C major and F major only. The sharp rule is for naturals and sharps. The flat rule is for anything that is a flat. Let's do just one or two before this video ends. What is the key signature for E major? Pause the video. Assuming you are unpaused, here is the answer. E major is natural because it's E, not E flat or E sharp. Okay, and so I'm going to use the sharp rule. I asked for E, go down one in the alphabet, that would be D. D is my last sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 crows got drunk. A flat major. Pause the video. Be ready to write the key signature for A flat major. Assuming you're unpaused, here's the answer. Because I'm asking for flat, you're going to use the flat rule. Letter plus 1 in the order of flats. A over 1. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 flats then in the key of A flat major. A flat major has 4 flats. Can you do F sharp major? Pause the video. Here's your answer. F sharp, you're going to use the sharp rule. Letter minus 1 of the alphabet. F minus 1 is E. There's your last sharp. This one then has 6 sharps. Got drunk at Easter. There's your key signature for F sharp major. F major. F major. Push pause. F major. Push pause. Assuming you're unpaused, F major is one of the memorized ones. It gets 1 flat, which is B flat. I'll do that again a little bit more pretty. There we go. B flat. I'm sorry. Yeah, for F major. G flat major. Push pause. Assuming you are done, here's your answer for G flat major. Obviously, you're going to use the flat rule, which is letter plus 1 in the order of flats. That would be your last flat. Letter plus 1 in the order. That means C flat is your last flat in the key signature. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat. There is how you can find your major key signatures. In the next video, I'll talk about how to find your minor key signatures.